pose brush can actually create like finger bending and all. It's pretty dope. Hi guys, my name is Barodante, and welcome back to Neonate's horror game characters creation process. Now, after a very brief pause, again, we're continuing our work. As I showed you guys in the last welcome back video, I did work on the main Neonate right here in my spare time, and this guy is actually having 3 arms. These two I'll probably be using like this in FK mode. They'll be just opening and closing the thing. Also, it's kind of necessary to move these things around when the character is bending all over the place. It's kind of cool. Makes it pretty live. And as all of this is happening, you know, these 2 arms moving, this arm moving, the goopy drops, they all maintain the vertical position. So I just created extra bones there. If we look at the reference bones, these are my own bones that I just added to the rig and parented to some of these twisty bones. And I believe they have... No, not a constraint, actually. They have inherit rotation turned off. That's all I had to do. I hope this stuff will transfer to Unreal Engine well. If not, actually, it's not super important because really what I'll need to do in Unreal Engine is just turn on physics simulation on these bones. As far as I remember, it's possible. I have no idea what I'm doing. But yeah, so far, pretty fun. The pose of the folded hand definitely needs some work. I wonder if fingers actually work. Not sure if I'll get to really animate them in the game. Yeah, seems like they work. Pretty fun. So yeah, now I want to move on and rig the big 2 guys right here. Let's see how we can do these. Oh, also I found a cool feature in AutoRig Pro that you can actually name your characters. I don't remember if I mentioned it in the previous videos on rigging, but right here, if you select a rig, you have set character name in the miscellaneous, so it properly renames all the like root objects that matter for naming. I don't know what exactly it means to name a character, but I guess it's just for the person that's animating it. And yeah, by the way, big deal. This first Neonate, I came up with a name for this guy. His name is Beggar, as you can see right here, because he kind of looks like a beggar when he is stretching his arm. Here's the beggar pose. But yeah, now let's move on with the Handyman. So let's see how we can approach this guy. Well, smart is no way. Definitely going with empty. Biped. Let's go with multipad. At the same time, I'll figure out what the hell exactly it means, like what kind of actual difference it makes. Because I mean, he's not like biped. He has 0 pad. Add limb. Arm left. I'm always confused about like what do I do with a shoulder bone. I never like need it. But maybe I do, I don't know. Does it make sense to just lock it afterwards? So wait, you called it arm left. Yeah, it's left. Okay, looks kind of confusing from here. I guess it's because my arms kind of bend forward. So one thing I learned about how you should sculpt the character to make it work later in the rigging stage and animation stage, it's all about how you bend the bones. You shouldn't be like, I don't know, artistic about it or something. Fingers should just bend forward. Normally, and that's it. Not artistically like squishing the hand or something like that. And generally, if the hand is bending here, the elbow needs to bend somewhere in the proximity in a way, because then when you set up IK, inverse kinematics, that stuff will have to automatically decide where the elbow is pointing, and that thing is not gonna understand your artistic approach. Oh my god, this is kind of tedious. One thing that kind of makes me feel better is that I'll just hit mirror and the other arm will just be created automatically. And also generally I didn't have to actually extrude all these bones and name them and such. Oh yeah, also one thing I recently saw in a video. So this volume snapping is exactly what you kind of need when you work with bones. It literally puts the bones in the middle of the volume when you move them around, which is kind of cool. Not 100% what you need at all times, but still, most of the time it's exactly what you need. But yeah, the tip right there is already confusing. It's alright. And yeah, these fingers right here, they're bent in all kinds of ways. I have no idea how Autorig Pro, or generally just Armature and Inverse Kinematics, will interpret these angles of the fingers. They look cool and all for the expressive pose for like a sculpt. But for rigging, I may need to, you know, bend it around a bit. Which is not a problem, by the way, even though I haven't created like UV maps or haven't projected normal maps, anything like that. And that means I'll still need to go back to my sculpt and project that stuff, and this mesh will be like bent. It doesn't matter because I'll just use the previous version of the files where nothing is bent, project it there, and then just transfer UVs and all the maps on these models. It doesn't matter. In case you were asking, you were not asking. And yeah, for the first time, like, I'm very solid about the understanding that fingers bend right here. Not right here, but right here, at least. Maybe even a bit deeper. Like, they really bend, not where the flesh ends, but much earlier. Big brain time. And yeah, these, like, inside of the hand bones, they're kind of cool, actually. That's what makes the positioning of the hand in like a fist or something. Like when you spread your fingers, you're actually spreading this stuff a lot as well. It's changing its size. And when you're making like a fist, it's like squishing here, so you'll get to move these bones kind of like this as well. Very useful bones. Anyway, I hope this works. We'll have to experiment with the way this is supposed to work. So yeah, this magical button, duplicate mirror. Boom! It's symmetrical, right? The sculpt. Yeah, I think this one is actually symmetrical. That's why it's not looking super impressive comparing to some other sculpts, because it's perfectly symmetrical. Well, not perfectly, in like smaller details, but overall the pose is symmetrical, which is lame. So we kind of add just head without eyelashes. Facial. No thanks. So do I like keep it like this? Neck. Can it be 0? It can't be 0. There's literally no neck. Like really no neck. Does it have to have a pelvis though? What can I create a rig without? That's the big question. And that's what we'll answer today for sure. Match the rig? Okay. I still need to parent the arms to something, so I'll do that. Like to the neck, I guess. Anyway, let's skin. I think it did it. Yep. A bit wonky in here, of course, because it didn't expect to have some kind of goop in between the arms. Ooh. I don't even know what would the result I want look like. As I realize it, I don't know what exactly I'm expecting. Why the hell is this hand so twisted? What the hell are you thinking about this hand? Like, it seems like fingers are recognized properly. Although, rotate x-axis? Oh no, that doesn't look right. Yep. You see some weird off-angle direction? That's because the sculpt needed to be sculpted with the like fingers bent a little bit forward in each digit. It's not like about having a natural pose, because naturally some digits just keep being straight or whatever. It just needs to be bent. Like this bend right here, it's not artistic, it's just supposed to be here to let the rig know where it's supposed to bend the bones. Now it's time to make decisions. I'm thinking let's kind of make these arms bend just like to the sides, and that's it. And as I'm seeing it right now, I don't have enough freedoms to do it because this rig won't let me like break the elbows or something. So I'm just gonna unbind and I'll just sculpt a bit of a different pose. So maybe not even sculpt, let's just select it. So I know that the end of the arm, like this hand, needs to be facing exactly like when we're looking from the front. They shouldn't be like at 45 degrees like this. They should just bend exactly to the side, and the arms should look flat to the side like this, with all the fingers slightly bent forward. So we'll need to adjust that. Okay, so we need that radius here up to the elbow there, even less. Yeah, somewhere like that. Now I'll be using my screen space, so I'll rotate the camera so I'll be looking down the pipe of that forearm. And another thing I need to do is turn off like only connected, because I don't want to accidentally grab the other arm. Ah, crap, this stuff is not symmetrizing. Why not? Topology mirror. Is topology symmetrical anyway? Probably not, right? But I mean, there's a checkbox for that. It means it can work without that. I don't know. So I'll have to somehow mirror the arms later? No, wait, I actually can't do that. I can't mirror later because that will make the topology completely new. I can't change polygons because then I won't be able to reproject the stuff. Can I use this stuff for twisting? Because I need to like twist, rotate and twist. Interesting. So how do I twist though? Oh, like this. So holding control. I have no idea what I'm looking at. With transparency, it's so confusing. Yeah, it seems like it's doing what I need. And yeah, symmetry actually works. I wonder why it never works for me in the actual edit mode. I can never use symmetry there. It's kind of cool looking. Okay, now about those fingers. Okay, why is it always soft like that, even when fall off is constant? Smooth iteration, 0. There you go. Yeah, this is so cool. I don't know if I ever showed you guys this, but Pose Brush can actually create like finger bending and all. It's pretty dope. And yeah, this is, by the way, a pretty cool way to test if your finger is properly posed, because right now it's too straight and it's confusing for IK systems. So when you bend, it'll do this. You know, obviously it won't understand what's going on. So you need to provide that proper bending in the right direction. Hi. Recording corrupted. So let me tell you guys real quick what happened in the rest of the video. So I managed to finish the character, and if we go in the rest pose, yeah, all the bones, I made them bent. So I'm a man of my word. And yeah, the elbows perfectly bent to the sides, so our IK poles are now facing, like for the right arm is over there, so it's doing just the right thing. I mean, if we wanted to, I'm still not certain. But yeah, one important thing about bending the fingers in the right axis. So if I hit right now RXX, which is rotating by x-axis in local space, that's how I'm able to bend the finger in a natural way. And if we actually select all of them just at the roots, and we can actually use a cool shortcut in AutoRig Pro, we can only select these roots and hit scale, and it will just bend all the digits together like this. And you guys can see it's bending in a normal direction now without any issues. And that's why you bend the fingers correctly in the sculpt. But also, it's actually not the main thing you have to make sure you do right to have these rotations done well. If I go back to the reference bones, right here you guys may have noticed the bones are rotated very correctly, like vertically. And not just that, you actually turn on a special view in this armature properties. In viewport display, you turn on axis, and that's where you should see that the x-axis would be turned not just in the right way in general, but like at the right exact angle, so when you would bend all of them, they would bend like a normal finger. And like the problem is in the edit mode, you can't really check. I don't know if I can go in the pose mode and check right away as well. Yeah, I can, so that's one way, but the skin is not there at the moment, so overall, that's what you do. You go through all the fingers, and the thumb should bend sideways, like at 90 degrees, so you rotate that as well. So afterwards, when we match to rig, we have our fingers doing the right thing. And yeah, the shortcut with the scaling also works for the thumb, and you can define exactly in the limb options, like this rotation from scale for 4 fingers, these 4 fingers, would it rotate all the 3 digits or only 2? And these ones, since they're selected, you can sort of rotate them individually. So I chose 3, so I'm just scaling this, and it's bending all of the fingers together. But for the thumb, I left only 2. like this digit is not supposed to bend as much. The thumb doesn't do all that much of an action, like it's not that useful, I guess. Another important thing I did was I got rid of the head bone, head preset in Autorig Pro, because I really didn't need that neck. And without a neck, you're literally just left with one bone. So I just made that one bone, and I figured out a cool thing of how to create a custom shape. So in the bone settings right here in viewport display, custom object. And at first I used like just an empty that I created to use the same kind of sphere gizmo for that. But then I realized all the Autorig Pro rigs have this, you know, name of the rig _ CS. CS is custom shape. This hidden, unknown, weird, like under the hood collection here is literally just storing these custom shapes. That's all it's for. And the rest is like an actual rig you're working with. So yeah, that was cool, and pretty much is just one simple bone. If we go to reference bones, this is what I created. You just hit Shift A, I think. Yeah, there it is. It created it in the beginning of the world. But yeah, I just scaled it down and we have that. And yeah, this bone is like the root of everything. These two guys are parented to this bone, which is the way it's called, just bone. I should call it like yolk, I guess. Oh yeah, and the big deal about this, I did some work. Put some hours in. So yeah, before we move to this and why I did it, really cool way how the head is actually, like the yolk is rotating around the origin of this bone, and IK is doing its thing. It's kind of cool. So you can literally, you know, end up making the character, and I think I'm gonna go with it. I had no idea what I'm gonna do with it before, but you can really go ahead and make this guy stand on his hands and all. Like, it will be pretty weird. You know, it's like a creepy moment where some kind of slow character suddenly changes its form and starts running at you really fast, because before that it was just a butt on the ground. And now this thing is running on a very long arms. I wonder if I can fix this twisting. Oh, the point is they're just supposed to be facing forward. That's the way the shape is. Which is, I mean, I'm fine with that. It's like confusing for myself even. But yeah, this is the way the character is standing on their arms. And I'm definitely using that. It's gonna be pretty cool. Yeah, back to the original position. Now about these extra bones I added. The thing is, I don't remember if it was visible in the beginning of the video, but when I was bending this thing, it was all kinds of weird things going on, like all kinds of bending going on. And right now, it's always stretching in like a straight line, the way you would expect from the goop to do. And before that, it would be like the radius of influence from these bones would kind of go like this, and then it would fade into the influence of these bones, and it would create like an S-curve always. So it looks nothing like an actual goop stretching. So I had to create like, at first I thought I would create one bone that would literally stretch from one position to another, but that would require to like parent the root of the bone to one leg and the tip of the bone to another leg. But that's not a thing. A bone is just a bone, and you can't parent the root and the tip to different things. So I ended up having to create like two bones. So long story short, I parented them to the corresponding legs and then used this damped track. So normally, like simple skinning to just legs would look like this, right? But I created these tracking things, so these two bones always look at each other, and they kind of correct that. Not in a perfect way, as I can see it right now, but probably the main reason to this is just in the skinning. But yeah, overall, I got this thing going, looking pretty dope. I had to experiment a little bit with the way I was skinning the character, because the egg white was kind of sliding separately from the egg yolk. That's actually because I was using this heat maps mode for skinning, and there's this other type, voxelize, so you can pretty much just use that if you have Autorig Pro, but I didn't actually do that in the video. What I did instead, I created a duplicate mesh. So if we go back to the original pose, we would duplicate the mesh. Let's say we delete all the modifiers and we go ahead and voxel remesh it in like at least this precision, and we would get this kind of look. So instead of having two separate islands of polygons, right, the egg yolk is a separate surface from the egg white. In here, everything is like gooped together due to voxel remeshing. And then what we do is we skin this remeshed mesh to the bones. And that creates a much more even distribution of weights all over the space. And then what we can do is we can actually transfer data to our original mesh right here. So we add this modifier before the rigging, and we transfer vertex data and vertex groups, because that is literally what's assigning which vertex is bent by which bone or whatever. So, and then you just generate data layers. Yeah, that's the way you would do it. And that's how you get very smooth skinning of a complex mesh that's made of more than one surfaces. And so the result now is that this mesh is now bending like it's one shape always. So everything is deforming together, and never like polygons that are really nearby, they wouldn't move like independently a lot, they always stretch together. So yeah, that's how things ended up being. But what's interesting, then I remembered that AutoRig Pro also has, aside from heat maps, which is a default Blender skinning mode, there's also voxelized mode, which is literally the same as what I just described. It would voxel remesh the whole thing into one surface and assign and then transfer those weights the same way. So yeah, that's pretty much what it does. And yeah, that's pretty much all it was. I was doing a little bit more of weight painting. So when you're doing the manual duplicate and voxel remesh on a separate version of the model, that's where you can also easily weight paint and change, like smooth out certain weights and stuff like that. And that's kind of what I did, although of course everything will be adjusted a million times further in the process of development, like all these things need to bend better. But yeah, this is how I pretty much finished this guy. I really like the way I made sure the fingers bent correctly. It's working just right. We'll have to go back to the bagger and actually do the same thing for the fingers, because I do remember that there was the same issue. Right now, if I would just go ahead and rotate these guys in x-axis, they all go like at a weird angle a little bit, instead of, you know, going here. It's like twisted in a weird way. So I'll need to adjust those angles of the actual axes right here that we can see in this view. And by the way, to avoid confusion, I believe this needs to be put to 0. So this is the actual bone you're rotating. So yeah, this is it. This is the whole thing. Was really fun seeing how I could control this guy and break the laws of physics with making him stand on his arms. That is a really cool thing. I'm so putting that in the game for sure. Like, is this the most awesome thing you've ever seen or what? What up? But for now, this is it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye! What up? What if I select all three and do this? What up? What up? Well, that doesn't work very well.